Ay, wait, before you close the video, maybe you want to learn about us and how you can help me, how we can help us, the trees. Diba? So, stick around and you can find out how you can help the environment and yourself. Because you breathe, diba? And this gives you air, diba? So, stick around and watch our video. Learn how you can do your part. Let us first ask ourselves, what is climate change?
Climate change is a change in the pattern of weather and related changes in oceans, land surfaces, and ice sheets, occurring over time scales of decades or longer.
There are both natural and human sources of carbon dioxide emissions. Natural sources include decomposition, ocean release, and respiration. Human sources come from activities like cement production, deforestation, as well as the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas.
The planet's average surface temperature has risen about 1.62 degrees Fahrenheit since the late 19th century, a change driven largely by increased carbon dioxide and other human-made emissions into the atmosphere. The oceans have absorbed much of this increased heat, with the top 700 meters or about 2,300 feet of ocean showing warming of more than 0.4 degrees Fahrenheit since 1969. Glaciers are retreating almost everywhere around the world, including in the Alps, Himalayas, Andes, Rockies, Alaska, and Africa. The number of record high temperature events in the United States has been increasing, while the number of record low temperature events has been decreasing since 1950. The US has also witnessed increasing numbers of intense rainfall events.
Though the Philippines does not emit as much carbon dioxide as other countries, we're still very vulnerable of climate change here in the Philippines. Some news outlets show the effects of climate change in the Philippines.
Mas malakas na bagyo, matinding tagtuyot, pagkasira ng kalikasan at pagkalat ng mga sakit. Ilan lamang ito sa mga perwisyong dulot ng nagbabago nating klima. At ayon sa mga eksperto, lalo lamang itong lalala sa mga susunod na taon.
Hindi na lamang ito usapin ng mga environmentalist. Usapin ito ng ating survival.
Pilipinas ang isa sa mga bansang pinakamalubhang tinatamaan ng climate change.
The climate change advocate raises concerns on the refusal of several world powers to recognize the findings of a landmark report on the impact of global warming.
The Philippines tops a list of countries most susceptible to hazards caused by climate change. Nearly half of the country's population live in areas highly exposed to climate hazards like drought, tropical cyclones, floods, and tsunamis. Manila, meanwhile, climbs for notches this year, placing 134th in the Global Peace Index or Global State of Peace Index. But the country's score makes it the second least peaceful country in Asia-Pacific, following North Korea.
Reports from Pag-asa and our scientific experts in the Philippines are actually all saying that climate change will actually affect health, not just in terms of extreme heat.
Well, I think the problem with climate change is that it's a very big issue. Climate change is not just an environmental issue, it's also a social justice issue, it's also an economic issue. It's all those things at once. Science tells us that climate change is something that is very graspable. When we experience the weather, we are experiencing climate change. When a farmer's yield declines because of prolonged droughts, it's because of climate change.
The Philippines joins 133 other parties to the Paris Agreement representing more than 80% of global greenhouse gas emissions. The Paris Accord sets the goal of limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius.
Our resource speaker was a facilitator of the Word of God Camp for Care for the Common Home or Laudato Si in Mindoro. Can you introduce yourself?
I am Diego Leandro Contreras and I am 19 years old. I am currently studying at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and I am taking up BS Biology, new freshman.
Diego, for you, what is climate change?
So for me, climate change, and one word that I can associate with climate change is the word true. Climate change is true. It shouldn't be neglected. It shouldn't be denied. Climate change is really happening in today's world. And climate change is what brings the very disastrous events in our nature around us. It's like, for example, this is the normal intensity, but due to climate change, the intensity of a certain disaster, a storm, a typhoon, reaches a really higher level. So, yun, that's how I understand climate change.
Furthermore, explained how some technologies can cause climate change and how some technologies can solve the problem.
How vital do carbon emissions play as one of the factors why global warming is happening?
So, as we all know, carbon emissions are totally not that bad because carbon emissions are really essential for us human beings and other organisms to live in this world. However, there should only be a certain amount of carbon emissions na dapat yun lang. Otherwise, this excess carbon emissions would cause a really warmer state of the earth, and if that level of carbon emissions ay na-reach, it would cause global warming, which later causes climate change. And that is why if we neglect carbon emissions the proper amount, it's like we are already fostering climate change to happen. And that is why we should always keep track of the proper amount of carbon emissions na inilalabas ng mga companies, ng mga domestic houses. Yan po.
Do you think climate change can still be stopped or mitigated?
I'm not really sure if climate change could be stopped, but I think that climate change is already there, but we still could mitigate it. Climate change could be mitigated by us human beings doing different adjustment methods, such as replacing our normal usages of energy, that instead of using non-renewable resources, we make use of renewable energy resources such as solar panels, yung sa hydroelectric na energy sources. And also, if we have this effort na bawasan na rin yung consumption natin generally ng energy, I think it would be better kasi yun, nababawasan tayo ng malakihang problema.
What practices can we tell every individual in combating climate change?
So, cliche it may sound, but I really think that in order for us to combat climate change efficiently and successfully, we need to always remember the reuse, reduce, and recycle. But not only that, we should also have this inner mindset of controlling ourselves with how we utilize resources to junk this attitude of consumerism, and also to always keep in mind it is also good for us to advocate. It is like passing on these attitudes not only with ourselves but also to others, so that there could be a multiplying effect na hindi lang ikaw yung nakakatulong sa kalikasan mo, kundi pati yung ibang tao. All this leads to sustainability. Sustainability, hindi yun para sa present generation, but thinking about, eto ba, makakatulong to sa future generations, sa mga magiging anak mo, sa magiging apo mo, sa magiging apo ng apo mo. So, kung iisipin mo yun, there comes that logos and ethos aspect of the human being. So, reuse, reduce, recycle, junk consumerism, and think about sustainability. Thank you.
Are technologies enough to combat the pressing issues about climate change? Are these enough to reverse the effects of climate change on Earth and on us human beings?
We also interviewed some Tomasians about their knowledge and opinions on climate change and carbon emissions.
For you, what is climate change?
For me, climate change is the alteration of the climate's condition due to acceleration in global warming.
I'm Katrina. Ang climate change ay yung pagbago-bago ng weather, most especially yung paglala ng init at paglala ng lamig sa ating bansa.
For me, climate change is a phenomenon that needs to be addressed because it includes global warming, environmental destruction, and sa mga oceans yung pagka-exploit.
How vital do carbon emissions play as one of the factors why global warming is happening?
So, carbon dioxide is a major proponent in the acceleration of global warming and climate change. It is important for us to be responsible with our carbon footprint.
My name is Ponce Nonji Marasigan, and I think carbon emission helps to global warming for it destroys the ozone layer that protects Earth from the heat.
Do you think climate change can still be stopped or mitigated?
Yes, I believe climate change can still be mitigated if all of us collectively will exert effort in being responsible citizens. And yeah.
I'm Sofia De La Torre po. I think climate change can still be mitigated, but it's possible that it cannot because of the world's cooperation is lacking, and we still need much more help. And I think it's still possible to help fight climate change. Yun lang po.
Nakadepende naman sa tao kung magdi-discipline niya yung sarili niya. If he or she will throw his or her trash properly, or if he or she will protect the planet by planting trees or reducing trash.
What are the technologies or materials that can be used to mitigate or stop climate change?
Okay, so for example, the concept of doing reduce, reuse, and recycling and living a sustainable lifestyle can help us mitigate climate change. Like, for example, using eco-friendly products and having less consumption on plastics and such.
What practices can we tell every individual in combating climate change?
I think we should be resourceful and not be wasteful of our resources. As much as possible, use what we should only have. And I think we should resort to eco-friendly practices, just as I have mentioned, like the substitution of plastics to more sustainable materials.
At yung paraan po na magagawa ko para ma-mitigate yung climate change is by properly throwing my trash into the proper trash bins.
We cannot rely on governments, businesses, or the public to adopt technological solutions to solve the problem of climate change. Instead, social solutions must be put in place according to research published in the International Journal of Sustainable Society. There are already organizations and institutions that focuses on climate change and carbon emissions.
As students, actively participating in organizations that combat climate change can contribute in solving various societal issues, not just here in the Philippines, but also the whole world.
For my plan of action, we should learn how to segregate. One little way to help mitigate climate change is to throw your trashes in the proper bin or to reuse, reduce, and recycle.
My plan of action is to reduce the use of cars, which contributes a lot to the emission of carbon dioxide. We should use more eco-friendly mode of transportation like bikes, or just make use of public transportation, or just carpool with your friends.
Help in reducing carbon emissions. Switch to renewable energy so that we can help the environment become a better place.
Let us be advocates against climate change.
We can share with others what we know and what we can do to save our planet. Let us start with ourselves.
My plan of action starts with the climate conversation. Sharing thoughts about the current situation of global warming and its effects to our common home can spark up ideas and ways on how to tackle the problem. Solving climate change will require us to work together, thus we need to communicate effectively. Start by asking environmentalists or experts on how to help our environment. With one conversation can lead to whole community or organization having the same goals and working together to fight climate change and carbon emissions.
We are the victims, but we are also the suspects. Let us fight climate change.